Hey guys, Matt Waxler here from Wheels Through Time Museum. Drive for History, fun week this week. We're going to be highlighting cannonball machines here at the museum. We're inside of our motorcycle cannonball exhibit here at Wheels Through Time. New exhibit last year. We actually opened the cannonball exhibit to pay tribute to some of the machines of the motorcycle cannonball. So for those of you guys that may not be familiar, motorcycle cannonball, coast to coast, started in 2010 by a good friend of ours, Lonnie Isom Jr. And every year they're taking 100-year-old or almost 100-year-old motorcycles and putting them to the test with a coast to coast endurance race. So some of the cannonballs, Kitty Hawk to Santa Monica, Sault Ste. Marie to South Padre Island coming up in 2021. Got some of the banners over this way from the previous runs, and 3,600 miles, 2,900 miles, 3,300 miles on old Harley Davidson, Indian Hendersons, and other primitive equipment. Today, we're highlighting a good friend of ours motorcycle. Buzz Canner from American Iron piloted this 1929 Harley Davidson JDH in the 2012 Cannonball. So Buzz, actually Cannonball veteran from the very first days. In 2010, he rode with my dad and Wayne and a bunch of other guys on 1915 Harleys. Now that was the very first Cannonball, Kitty Hawk to Santa Monica. And nobody really knew what they were getting into on that first Cannonball. As it turned out, it was the trip of a lifetime for many of these guys. Kind of a who's who of antique motorcycle restoration on that run. A lot of guys talk about it, some of the best experiences of their life on that 2010 Cannonball. So Buzz came back for 2012 with an updated machine, a lot fresher and a lot more capable than the 1915 Harley Davidson he rode in the first run. Now the 29 JDH, ultra rare motorcycle. As I understand it, Buzz was the only JDH on the run, and probably the first Harley Davidson JDH to really attempt a coast-to-coast endurance run on any sort of quickness. Can't say that it was the first JDH to run one coast to the other, but as far as the motorcycle cannonball, we're certain he was the first. And as far as we know, there aren't really any documented coast-to-coast trips on the Harley 2-Cam. So what we're looking at here, guys, last year for the Harley Davidson J model, for the last year for the pocket valve setup, very special engine. Now in 28 and 29, Harley Davidson made about 500 JDH motorcycles. Now the JDH, designated by this kind of peanut shape or twin or peanut shape or kidney bean shaped cam cover, twin cam setup. So guys riding new Harley Davidsons today, unless you're on a brand new Milwaukee 8, you're probably riding a twin cam motorcycle. So update from the J model. The J model was a single cam setup, really kind of a primitive arrangement with cam followers inside the cam chest. The twin cam actually beefed up the lower end, allowed the factory to time the valves a little bit more properly where they'd like them. Now 74 cubic inch. This one's been updated with a Linkert carburetor from a little bit later years. I was actually looking this morning, and it looks like that's an M5 carburetor, ultra rare knucklehead carburetor, 36 to 9. One of those parts that if Buzz is lucky, it'll be on there when he gets the bike back. If not, it might be on something here inside the museum. But so Buzz's machine, 3,860 plus miles he ran this bike on coast to coast. Actually had some things that came up and wasn't able to complete the run, but most definitely among the most ridden JDH Harley Davidsons anywhere in the world. So this bike's got some ultra cool features on it, starting with the 1929 chassis. One of the most favorite and rarest parts on this bike is the ultra rare I-beam front end. The I-beam front end, as we know it, was only on the 1929 2-cam motorcycles. So the single cam bike of the same year didn't have the beefed up forged I-beam front end. You can see the extra reinforcement on the outside of the plate here. Another cool thing about 29 was the double headlights. So Buzz is running an original pair of Harley Davidson double headlight assembly, klaxon horn in the center. fork reinforcement here up on the top. Almost completely original parts on this bike. So a lot of guys that restore JDHs at this day and age, it's near impossible to have one with all original stuff. This bike is really prepped from front to back with almost everything original. Another neat part of the bike is the Hansen Sport Shield. Buzz actually found an original Hansen Sport Shield. This is a retractable roll-up windshield. It's kind of stuck in place right now, so I'm not going to mess with it, but it allows you to raise and lower your windshield to a few different levels. Really neat setup. Running coast to coast helps incredibly. Remember, these guys are out on 55, 60 mile an hour roads on some pretty primitive equipment. Nowadays, most motorcycles have a windshield. Buzz adopted the Hansen Sport Shield, made the ride significantly easier, great in the rain. Now, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with how the Cannonball works, it's a coast-to-coast endurance run, time distance rally. So you get your route sheet at the beginning of the day. Most guys, the end point of the day is published well before, so you know where you're going to end up. You just don't know the route. So every day, 6:30 in the morning, you get handed your route sheet. Pop it into this route sheet holder here, and as you can see, it's incredibly detailed. Head southwest on Georgia 25 US 17 for 14.4 miles. Sharp right to D. Imagine going coast to coast, following one direction at a time. 0.2 miles, 0.2 miles, 18.7 miles, 12.4 miles. Grueling run. To do this sort of thing by yourself is incredibly involved. Takes a lot of talent. Buzz aced it the first year, and the second year, actually a 3-time Cannonball. The third time he run was on a 1936 Harley Davidson VL. So some of the other equipment, you got to have a good pair of saddlebags. Remember, these guys, day to day, at the end of the day, you can tear your bike down if you want. You can rebuild it to any degree that you need to, but the whole idea, you've got to make it from point 1 to point 2 to point 3 throughout the day. So there's a lunch stop, and then there's the end of the day setup, 250 miles, 310 miles, 170 miles. Really grueling run. You got to make sure you got spare tools to be able to fix along the way. Carry an extra coil, carry an extra battery, maybe an extra carburetor. So Buzz was well prepared, did a fantastic job on the run. Now, the engine itself, my dad rebuilt probably 6 or 8 months early for the run. Buzz was actually able to put some miles on this thing and shake it down. We always say when you're going to the Cannonball, if you don't have 1,500 plus miles on the bike, you're really fighting an uphill battle. So original Corbin Speedo, original toolbox, original battery box, of course the Harley Davidson 3-speed crash box, sliding gear transmission. So Buzz has set this up, ditched the muffler, and ran a straight pipe, lot less parts to break, and provides great performance with the fishtail on the end. So we're gonna get this bike fired up. You get to hear what a 1929 Harley JDH well-ridden motorcycle. Again, guys, these bikes are so incredibly rare. Most are in museums and private collections today. Very few get ridden. Buzz definitely put the miles on this bike. So motor is cooled back off. We've run it once today already, so we're gonna give it a couple choke kicks and we should be set to go. 2 should do it. Rhythm there. Now the JDH was the high performance Harley Davidson in 1929. Maybe 1,500 RPMs more than your standard J model. So this thing, you could really wind it out. Part of the reason behind that was the twin cams. You ditch the cam followers. Roller lifters, just like a knucklehead, a panhead, and shovelhead. So really capable bike, stronger lower end. The top end's slow like you wouldn't believe. Bike 100 mile an hour right off the Harley showroom floor. So as I understand it, the JDH was Harley Davidson's first 100 mile an hour motorcycle. So really awesome bike. As you can hear, it's running as good as the day that Buzz left. Just one sweet, sweet machine. Like I said, runs as good as the day that it left for the Cannonball, and many, many more miles inside of this engine to go. So Cannonball exhibit here at Wheels Through Time. We opened it in October of this year. It's going to be running all throughout this year. Make sure you guys come check it out. Also, Motorcycle Cannonball comes through Maggie Valley on Friday, I believe September 17th. It's going to be a heck of a day. This year, they're going from Sault Ste. Marie to South Padre Island. I believe it's 1929 and earlier. So there's going to be some incredible history coming through Wheels Through Time here. Appreciate you guys checking out Drive for History. Make sure you check out driveforhistory.com, wheelsthroughtime.com. Get you some raffle tickets. Support the museum today. Remember, you guys help keep us going. Thanks a bunch.